And let's say, so for a ZX10 rider, so you riding a ZX10 and you're familiar with the power band and all that stuff. If you were to jump off of that bike and jump onto this bike, if those numbers are correct, if 200 horsepower, 130 foot-pounds of torque, supercharged, what's the difference that rider is going to see in that bike in terms of how it feels when he twists that throttle and goes through the gears?
The best way I can explain a supercharged bike to those that have never experienced it or ridden one, because there's only a few of us in the country that have supercharged motorcycles.
Wow.
It's basically like getting hit in the face with a sledgehammer. The bike, the supercharger comes on so strong, so fast. There is no lag in the boost pressure. It is instantaneous power. And it will feel like if you jump off of a ZX10R onto this H2, if it's somewhere in that range of the power, it's all going to hit right on the bottom, and it's just going to feel like somebody's trying to rip your face off.
So it almost sounds like what you're describing is the closest you can get to an electric bike experience, but obviously way more violent than we're capable of producing right now as far as electric bikes, because they just don't have the torque, but the power is right away.
Exactly. Yep.
So this is
it's instantaneous. And that's one of the struggles we have been going through with our bike in Pro Street Trim, with the DOT tire and to the rules, is being able to control that instant torque hit. That has caused a lot of problem of trying to manage that motorcycle to keep it accelerating, being able to stay in the throttle from the word go to the finish line. And it's a lot to deal with. My bike is an extreme case and a max effort deal, but this thing will be pretty cool. I can't wait to see one.
So let's just so we can get some more detail about what kind of performance it would be. So if I'm cruising on a bike with these kind of numbers, and I am about 1,500 RPMs, and I just do a quick, you blip the throttle when you downshift. What if you were to do that? You're cruising at 15,000 RPMs, and then you just, not 15,000, 1,500 RPMs, and then you just do a quick blip on the throttle with no traction control on. What would be the response on a bike like that?
The way that supercharger works is it's in load base. So if you're cruising park throttle, you're just hanging onto the throttle, you're about 1,500 to 1,800 RPM, and you're just cruising there. You're in a vacuum state of the engine, so there's really no load against it. If you quick split it in the load, the front tire is coming off the ground. I'm telling you that right now. It is coming right up because the power is so smash in your face that if you just blip it real hard, real quick, it is going to see the load and apply boost immediately.
So what does that mean exactly? You have to be accelerating at least a little bit before you can get that kind of response? You can't just be like idling around?
You can idle and do it. I wouldn't suggest it. If you don't, it's not going to be for a novice rider, I'll say that. And for people that don't like tires. If you don't like a rear tire, this bike will be perfect for that because you'll do nothing but shred it.
Okay, how about this? Could you, if you're really in a hurry on the highway and you want to be passing a bunch of cars and overtaking and stuff like that, could you do all the overtaking you need without ever exceeding, say, 2,000 RPMs?
In higher gear, it's running it. We have to see where the final gear ratios and everything lands on the bike when they get it done. I'm going to assume that it's going to be geared fairly long to keep it from being so wheelie happy and so brutal off the bottom. Yeah, it's not a problem. The grunt down low, where if you're on a leader bike, you have to downshift from fourth gear to second gear to get the RPM to have the power and the torque to move, where you could leave this bike in fourth gear and just grunt it and just keep right up.
My best point of reference would be the Hayabusa. But the Hayabusa, you need a little bit more RPMs before it gets violent. If you're in the right power mode, and I would say maybe 8,000 RPMs or so, and you start getting a little bit rough with the throttle, that throwing you back and like you kind of holding on for dear life type of thing, but that's at 8,000. You're saying you'd get that at a much lower RPM on this bike? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would say, like we had talked about before, I would assume that this bike is going to have some form of supercharged deal in it, to where at very low RPM it's going to probably slip a little bit to keep people from trying to kill themselves.
with sliding the bike out and tire spinach and stuff like that. I would say anything over, 2,500 to 3,000 RPM, you should just hang on and let it go.
Wow. And then what happens next? I mean, so you get into 3,000, you're going 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. What's happening as you're increasing your RPMs? I mean, because it sounds violent, so low.
Well, the superchargers, they get through the RPM range fairly quick, a lot quicker than what most people are used to in an aspirated form.
Oh.
Just an engine form. So you're going to be shifting gears quite quickly. I mean, you roll out in first gear to 3,000 RPM and stab that throttle, you're going to hit second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear before you know what's going on. And most likely you're going to be short shifting it to try and keep the front wheel anywhere close to the ground.
What does that do for fuel consumption?
I would say probably not very good. Well, no, I mean, if you're riding it in the form that we were just talking about, yeah, you're going to go through fuel pretty quick. Driving it around in a light load standpoint, it's not going to be really any different than, say, just a normal ZX10, because boost isn't going to be being routed into the engine, so it'll ride around. If you want to take it easy, it'll ride just as docile as you want to. But then when you want to hit the loud, grab the loud throttle, it's there.
Why is nobody else doing supercharged bikes?
Over the years, there really hasn't been a call for much more than what they've been able to do with the Hayabusa for the last 15 years, and then since 2006 with the ZX14, and then the prior to the ZX12, and even the Honda CBR 1100 XX, very underrated motorcycle.
Unnecessary is what you're saying.
Yeah, it hasn't really been a necessary type of deal, but in the last few years, we've gotten into a very, very high demand for power. Everybody wants horsepower, So to get more, they're looking at other standpoints. The side effect to turbocharging is you create a lot of heat and back pressure in the exhaust. So the longevity of a turbocharged engine isn't that of, an all-motor bike. So you're dealing with a lot of heat and a lot of restriction that you don't get with a supercharger. And that's one of the good benefits to the supercharger is that you don't have the exhaust heat and back pressure in the engine.
Nice. Are so excited about whatever this bike's going to be. I'm pretty sure it's going to be so awesome. I mean, Kawasaki already makes pretty awesome bikes, so and next generation, some new revolutionary thing. I mean, wow. That's all I can say at this point.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Freedom, it's liberating to get on your bike and just go and take a nice ride. All the problems seem to go away.